I will be watching the worst animated anime in 2025, TBATE, or other people know the name as The Beginning After the End. I don't really know. I watch some pretty shitty anime, so I think I could be a really good judge with that. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about by it being the worst and where I got the information, basically this article is saying that this is like a T-move version of Mushoku Tensei, and it has some really bad scenes to the point where if you... There we go. Here we go. With over 40,000 fans unifying behind the petition, there were always going to be a few who misdirected their anger and took things too far. Blah, 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 blah. If you guys don't know what this petition is about, it is basically a petition of a bunch of people basically saying, yeah, this anime is horrible. Let's all get together and actually like sign something to get rid of it. And I saw that popping up for a while, and I also saw the news about the studio that was taking The Beginning After End, and I just knew it was coming. And we all knew it was coming. It's Studio ACAB of all people. Like they're like one of the worst studios out there. This happened. We're gonna watch Chibi Review's video.
This right here is the author of The Beginning After the End. The author that has created the work.
By the way, I am a manga reader. I actually have read. It's the second manga I ever read. As soon as I read Solo Leveling, I did not get the Ragnarok, but as soon as I read Solo Leveling, I immediately went and saw The Beginning After End. So.
That has now gotten an anime adaptation, and to be completely blunt, the anime community's overall reaction to The Beginning After the End is not good. I think
yeah, it's pretty bad. Everybody's been shit talking it, bro. They said The Beginning After the End is worse than the Seven Deadly Sins fight with Meliodas versus Escanor. That is low. That is low, bro. I'm not gonna lie, because that shit was something everybody could agree. Forget the fan service, forget the nasty being under whatever. That shit was so fucking bad, it became the image of bad animation.
Nobody has seen it. Nobody likes what it's been doing. And
Nobody.
It feels like an inferior product in every single way
in
comparison to the original source. But before I get ahead of myself, I want to listen to this interview. I want you guys to listen to this interview.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about what was said here, and then expectations versus reality, aka reality, what the anime turned out to be.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
So this is an interview that was released about 2 months ago by literally Crunchyroll themselves. You can literally see it here. It was released by Crunchyroll 2 months ago. This is the actual offer.
So they already had like an idea of why it was going to be bad, or they already had an image of it being bad or something like that? I think I'm saying that incorrectly, but you guys get what I'm saying? Basically saying like they already had an inkling idea from the author himself that he might have been iffy about the studio that he chose for the anime. I'm assuming that is what the interview is going to be about.
Of The Beginning After the End. This is a clip from it, and I'll show a little bit more of it here, but I want you guys to see this clip and all that of what the author has to say about the anime before, obviously, it had to release. And it gives a lot of insight into why the anime currently is like it is. So let's get right into it.
Okay.
I said yes. It's like, let's make it happen. Like, when I first got the offer, Crunchyroll wants to do an original co-pro of The Beginning After the End, and I was like, wait, seriously?
Me? My title, me?
Bill me? But I want it out there. I want it done. I believe Crunchyroll was looking out for different studios. ACAT was...
Wait, so Crunchyroll is the one that chose them? Not him?
List. And what appealed to, I believe, Crunchyroll, Tapas, and myself, the director knew of my story.
Why is he saying I believe? Does he not know exactly? Was it just like an idea or something? I know I just realized I'm totally blocking Chibi. I'm so sorry, Chibi. I love you, bro. Anyways, but did he not, was it like some miscommunication maybe somewhere along the lines? I know I should let him talk and everything. I know. But like, how did they get the decision of Studio ACAB of all people?
Before it was pitched,
really? Okay.
When he and I had a small conversation online over what drew him to The Beginning After the End, it was really all-encompassing, where I could tell that he not only had read the webcomic, but he had researched quite a bit into the novel as well. But with ACAT,
the reason why he chose Studio ACAT is because the main person, whatever, probably knew of the story, so he probably, I'm assuming, he's gonna explain in his own words, but I'm assuming the reason why he chose Studio ACAT and or was okay with choosing Studio ACAT was because the author or the director or whatever the main person in the studio company is called knew of his story already. So maybe he felt personally that that person should be in charge of animating my show. I'm assuming that is how it went.
One thing that I was reassured by was the fact that I could, be a bit more involved, have more conversations, and really
that is also
work
interesting.
To come up with a really strong anime.
Now, there's a little bit more to this that I'm going to play before I really talk about it, because it gives more clarity to this conversation.
So, he wanted more hands on deck with the actually being involved. And the person that he chose, the producer in Studio AK, I'm assuming that's what he basically just said, knew of his story. So, he felt like they would do it better, maybe stick to the story better or something along the lines. Which, personally, W for that. However, when you look at, hold on, let me go to anime list. I'm going to anime list, right? You guys want to see this? My anime list. Let me load it up. Let's go to, can I just search up Studio ACAT? Studio ACAT, yep. Studio ACAT. Now look at the animation. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have actually watched a lot of these. I've watched the Death Game 5 seconds whatever. I've watched this demon whatever thing. But these are shit that I just throw in the background and no one ever cares about. I don't remember the main character's name in this. I don't remember the dude in this. I don't even remember the damn premise. I think he was a human in a demon army. That's it, I guess. They don't really do much. They have nothing that really. What's the word? Nobody remembers, basically. I guess you could say. So their track record isn't really all that good. Anybody can see that, but.
So let's play this clip here.
I don't think with me, right? And like you said, ACAT is a rising studio. They've had several titles under their belt.
ACAT is the studio.
But another big reason why I wanted to really invest TBATE into ACAT was the fact that they wanted to put their all into it. And I wouldn't be able to have that same confidence with a bigger studio where they have so many main IPs.
So maybe he thought that they wouldn't stick to his story and or he would be outshined from his own anime. Maybe that was the reason why this all happened. I guess it was like a fair thing, maybe, I guess.
Major titles that they have on their roster that they need to also work on.
I think this alone is enough to really get some good clarity on where everything went wrong.
It makes sense.
I think what we can really just chop this up to is someone being naive and honestly not realizing just how a smaller studio could really just take advantage. And it doesn't seem like, I don't really know, right? I don't know if what I'm about to say is actually a factual truth, but it doesn't seem like he knew his own worth, or a better statement, it doesn't seem like he knew TBATE's actual worth. Like maybe he thought that it would be outshined or controlled completely from a bigger studio and everything. I personally disagree. I think it had the audience. I think it had the story. I think it had enough pull for him and it or whatever to actually outshine and not be taken over and destroyed and chapters skipped and whatnot. It could have got the solo leveling treatment, maybe, in my opinion, but. And also, most of the time when it's a smaller studio, yes, it might be a passion project, but usually it could also be for cost-saving measures. The fact that Crunchyroll and Tapas offered ACAT,
that part is weird. Crunchyroll, not that they're dumb or smart or some gods, but they should know, right? Right? Like, what? That's weird. Why? What? Is it because they knew that he couldn't afford it? Is it because they knew that he wouldn't want it? I don't know. It's weird.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing, exactly.
Saving measure, because it wouldn't be as big of a studio. For instance, let's say like WIT Studios or A1 Pictures, you get the point. So the fact that they even allowed this to go through, I think just showcases how this offer was taken advantage of and taken for a ride, and it's really sad to me. Now, obviously, I will personally never know the conversations they had behind closed doors, for instance, what the offer had, but I think in general, from what my viewpoint on this interview is and what I have seen from the clips and that stuff that's been said, the offer genuinely thought deep down that Studio ACAT, the studio working on the beginning after the end, was going to give their A game. They were going to...
Right, it sounds like he probably wasn't... necessarily like he probably looked at the other anime that they have produced or had their hands on or whatever, and he was like, well, it's just their start. You know, my anime could be among the greats when they get a little bit better, especially if they themselves say that they're going to put their all into it. Maybe mine will be the one that will be their biggest, whatever you want to call it, like they didn't outshine, they did all the best work they could, they did the best animation, it outstands all the other work they ever did. I'm assuming that is what he had in his mind. Obviously that was not the case though, but you know,
give their absolute 110% on the project and truly believe that, because the director obviously read his work, read what the work was, read,
and to be fair, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome.
If I was in his shoes, I might also see it in a very positive way. I'm like, yo, so if the director is into my work, then most likely it is in safe hands. But obviously, at the end of the day, there's just so much more going on than just a director reading your work. You have so many animators and people part of the staff and team that really go into the project that there needs to be more than just the director being on board. I'm not saying that's not important, but there's a lot more. But anyways,
they need the resources to actually back up the damn story. Not the animation is everything, but it damn sure is a lot of it. It is a lot of the picture. It is a lot of the pieces of the pie. Like, yes, it is not the whole pie, but without it, the shit falls apart. And sure, some people would be like, if the story is all that good, then the animation doesn't matter. Yeah, sure, but if the fucking animation is not even existent and they're just still pictures, don't matter how good the story is. It does not matter, bro. No one's gonna watch that shit. They're just gonna laugh about it. Freak, bro. Freak.
The creator of The Beginning After the End got led to believe that because of that, ACAT would be the right studio, which I think is an honest mistake. It is a very honest mistake. The thing is that as it obviously progressed, he said himself, even in this interview, that he chose ACAT because it was a smaller studio. Not because of cost-saving measures, but because the studio is so small.
Yeah, I really, like, as I said earlier, I really do think that he just didn't put that much worth into himself. Maybe I'm rereading this wrong, maybe I'm watching it wrong, I don't know. But I think that he legit just thought, I'm a small guy. Wow, they're letting me pick? Oh my god. Wow, I'm getting the attention from Crunchyroll? Holy crap. They want my story? Wow, I must do what I can do or something. I'm assuming that's what his mind was at, but I'm not sure.
They're not working on a lot of projects, which means in general
that is also
they would
true.
give their 110% focus on the said project, aka The Beginning After the End. Because when it comes to other studios, aka let's say for instance A1 Pictures or something, they're working on maybe 4 or 5 projects at once, and they don't have time to spare for everything. And so there's going to be some projects that are just going to be thrown to the wolves and not do as well. And so in this case, the reason why he didn't select probably the bigger studios when he was looking at the list was because he knew that maybe they wouldn't get priority to his project.
And I could totally get behind and say, that makes sense, bro. I get you. However, I think being the worst produced anime out of like 10 from like MAPPA is way better than being the best anime from Studio ACAT. If you ask me, not to put them down that much. No, actually, I ain't putting them down that much. That shit is horrible. That shit looks bad. No one has said, well, bro, just watch it, guys. It's gonna get better. No.
That's why he gave it to Studio ACAT, which in turn I think is the downfall where the beginning of everything came down is because of that decision. I don't think it's necessarily completely the author's fault, but there definitely should have been counseling. And I think in general, at least from my understanding, because this is just my own interpretation of it, there's no confirmation to, prove this, but it seems to me like Crunchyroll and Tapas took him for a ride and just wanted to save as much money as possible, but make as much money as they could off the project without spending as much money, so to speak. And I think in general, it has been the exact opposite. It's done so much damage to the actual product, aka The Beginning After the End, with doing such a very bare minimum anime adaptation. That
I'm gonna watch it, right? I want to watch it. I want to see just how bad it is. I want to rate it. I want to see it. I have to see it, right? However, there's no way it's that bad. There's no way. I watched Seven Deadly Sins all the way through. I watched Tokyo Ghoul all the way through. I watched The Promised Neverland all the way through. I watched Sword Art Online all the way through. There is no way that it is worse than all of those. I don't believe it. There's no way. There's no way. I have to see it with my own eyes. There is absolutely no way.
Have a lingering effect, not just, let's say, on the comic, but also on the light novel as well. And I think that it's legitimately sad. It's very sad just to see an offer taken for a ride and actually done in such a disrespectful way. Now, at the end of the day, I'm not the offer. I'm not in his shoes. And
right, of course,
all I know, for instance, maybe the offer is fine with the anime. Maybe the offer is fine with, the anime like it currently is. And if he is, okay, at the end of the day, that's his opinion, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If he likes the anime, maybe he's just happy to see it adapted. But I do think that if I was him, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to force my emotions onto him, but if I was him and I saw how it turned out, even I saw the community reaction, I would be a little bit devastated. And I think,
a little bit. If I was him, I would be fucking furious. I would be cussing out Studio A-Cat. I don't care how small I personally think I am. You destroy my anime. You destroy my manhwa. You completely destroyed it. You put the only good thing about it right now is that out of a comment section of 1,000 comments that are reacting to a really bad image or scene from this, most of them go, well, at least the novel and manhwa was better. Well, guys, just go read the manhwa. You're lucky that you actually have a great story. That's most people go, oh, really? The manhwa was good? I can just go watch that? Oh, okay, I'll do that then. Imagine if they were all just shit. You'd just be another shitty anime out there. Like God, bro. Oh, man. I would be furious. I would be upset. Immediately switch studios if it was possible. Completely shut it down. Don't even put more episodes out at this point. Hell no.
I think in general, it's very unfortunate because the beginning after the end, as I've already said in my 2 videos I made on it, it had the potential to be the next Soul Leveling. Or at the very least stand alongside of something like Mushoku Tensei or something. But the fact that it's been done in such a poor way, it's killed pretty much any opportunity for the series to ever.
Look, I don't know how studios work when it comes to producing anime and stuff, but I think it wouldn't be bad for it to legit go in a big-ass hiatus, come out fucking next year or some shit like that, and redo it from episode 1. Is that weird? Is that possible? I don't know the laws and the rules. I'm not a producer. I ain't an animator. I don't fucking know that shit, right? But that's what I would think what would happen or fix it, you know? Just saying. It's probably a contract or something that you can't break or void, I assume, but that's what I would do.
Ever really blow up in popularity, because at this point most people are either gonna jump ship or they're just gonna watch it and be like,
no, they already jumped ship, bro. They jumped ship first episode. They tried to stay for the second episode and they was like, yeah, nah, bro, we have no hope.
Source, and that's about it, and they're not gonna really care much about the anime, and I think it's just, like I said, it's damaged it. So this is really sad. This interview that came out really just paints a pretty sad picture about the whole ordeal. I just think that this is just sad, man. That's really the emotions.
I guess the only thing it really does, like I said, is that most people that are like negative and angry about it, they're angry because they know the story is good. They're angry because they know that this guy right here knew what he was doing when he was writing that story. I personally like the beginning after the end. I read it. I love my man Arthur, bro. He go ham and ham. He's the complete opposite. It's like a big ass parallel, opposite, whatever you want to call it, of Mushoku Tensei. And I love Mushoku Tensei, by the way. But there's just a lot of things that a lot of isekai do where the person grows up. They were like 40 or whatever in their past. Maybe they were like some neat or shut-in. But like they just did everything kind of different. Like one big example that without spoilers and stuff, Arthur in the story was a king in his past. He was very successful. He wasn't overpowered necessarily, but he was very successful. And I only read the manhwa. I did not read the novel. Don't spoil me if I'm wrong or I say that incorrectly or wrong order or whatever. But from what I got, he was great. He wasn't beat up. He wasn't bullied or nothing like that. He came to the new world and he just did better. He was just better. And I love that. I just wanted to put that in there for some reason. But yeah.
I got from this. It's, at least we finally have confirmation on why the beginning after the end has just been done like it's done. I mean, we could kind of put the pieces together to assume this is what happened, but still, it just, what a tragedy, man. What an absolute tragedy.
Sucks.
Because
really
this man
does.
truly is passionate about his product. He loves his series, and he wants it to be popular. And to see it done like this, I could not imagine if I was him how I would feel. I would be devastated. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, everyone. I love you guys. Be safe. Stay healthy.
Yeah, I love you too, Chibi. I really do. Everybody go check out my man Chibi Reviews before this video ends. Of course, I'm putting this video right down in the description because, you know, I definitely used it to react. But my final thoughts on this is if I was him, like I said, it's probably some like contract or like legal thing. You can't just get out of it just because willy-nilly, but I would be freaking furious. I would be trying to sue, cussing them out. I'm getting Studio ACAT and me, we can't be together. There is no way whatsoever. We gotta break up. There's no way. But that's just my own opinion. I hope that something happens to fix it. But I will be watching the anime. I will be reacting to it. There's no way I'm not going to. Okay, come on, bro. But yeah.